And I'm uploading to Facebook right now.
All right.
So I had to turn down my background, Nadella.
Okay.
I gotta get me one of them city backgrounds.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
we got it from he got it from Amazon. Amazon have so many different backgrounds.
Nadella, I just actually downloaded this one.
Oh, that one you downloaded?
Yeah, I just downloaded this one.
It's really nice.
Jay, send me your email address. Well, no, hold on. I got your email address.
So you could send it to me so I could get me one.
Oh, what did you no, I didn't ask for your help. Okay. All right. We are ready to go.
All right.
Oh, let me. All right. So I'm jumping between three different devices. So, all right, here we go. All right, all right. Good evening, everyone. This is your girl, Nodella Sacagawea Jordan, coming forth with another live intimate talk show with my partner. And we have two extraordinary guest co-hosts. Everyone, if you can introduce yourself quickly once again for our audience.
I am Erica Urquhart from New Haven, Connecticut. I am the owner of Erica's Organic Teas.
And I am Jay Davis from Langhorne, Pennsylvania, and I am the herbalist, and I am my business is Herbal Arc.
Nice, nice. All right. So everybody, as you see and as you tune in, I also want to encourage and invite you to share tonight's broadcast so that others can definitely take part and gather some real great information tonight. And as I had been sharing in the postings that this is a new year, many of us or many of y'all have made resolutions. Many of you have set out to be healthier this year. One of the things that I think many of us don't realize, because I know there are so many coffee drinkers out there, especially today, coffee has so many different flavors as well. I've never been a coffee drinker. I've always been a tea drinker. And I want to just kind of get into everyone's mind that tea is another great source in promoting health. They're using it now also as a way to help people to lose weight. I drink tea a little bit more at night because it helps me to sleep better. If you're like me and Erica, who's up at 12, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning when we should be sleeping because we got all these things on our mind. But someone has suggested to me last year about starting to drink my tea like an hour before I go to bed. And so I started doing that. Tea does not make you go to sleep, but what it does is that it works with your body that once you do go to sleep, it kind of mellows out your body. So I definitely have a hard time shutting my mind down at night when it's time to go to bed. That's when a lot of thoughts, just really start flooding my mind. And again, when I should be sleeping. But I notice when I do drink tea before I go to bed, sometimes I use honey and sometimes I don't use honey. I found that it definitely helps me to sleep better. what a lot of people don't realize is that tea is a natural herb. And so tonight I asked Jay Davis to come on because he has his business, which is called Herbal Arc. He's an herbologist. Did I say that right?
Herbalist.
Herbalist. I knew. He is an herbalist.
Try that again, Nadella.
I know. And then Erica, I'm going to start with her first because I invited her on because last year she started her own business, which is called Erica's Organic Teas. And her story is amazing. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to let Erica start first and share about her business, how we got started, and then we can go from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nodella. Thank you, Derek, for inviting me to be on the program and for sharing, allowing me to share my story. I'm honored to be with you. And I was so excited to know that Jay would be with us, whom I have not met before, but he's an herbalist. And hopefully Jay can help me understand what I'm actually doing because
You don't know what you're doing?
hey, let me tell you, I'm flying by the seat of my pants and faith in God.
Well, whatever you're doing, Erica, it's working.
Glory be to God. I give him all the glory for it because I never had any intention of starting a company. Now, like Nodella, I was always a tea drinker. My mother was both a tea and coffee drinker. So I started drinking coffee when I was like 10 years old. It was always a part of what I did, but I never really thought of it as, you know, something medicinal, naturally medicinal, or something that would aid the body in maintaining or obtaining health. My husband was diagnosed with cancer last year. And it was a type of cancer where we had to make immediate and sudden decisions about care. I was shocked. I was floored. When we spoke to the doctor, they let us know that surgery for him wouldn't be an option. And so they wanted to start treatment right away. And the treatment was very aggressive. And, you know, one of the things when I think back sometimes over those moments and those days of that initial finding, hearing that word cancer, you know, having it's not a commercial, it's not a St. Jude, you know, commercial that you're watching on TV about someone else's family. It's not someone calling me as a minister and saying, Erica, would you pray for, you know, my mom or my sister or my dad who's affected by cancer? It's me sitting here across from this doctor next to my husband, hearing a report that the word of God tells me I should not receive or believe. But I'm telling you, I was stunned. I couldn't even think. I really was. And you would think, you know, in this stage, okay, I've been in the Lord, saved, full of the Holy Ghost, definitely an intercessor. For 25 years, I couldn't think of a thing to say, nothing. And when I, you know, left that day and we started talking about it, one of the things my husband said to me, which was very powerful in that moment, he said, if God brought me to this, he's going to bring me through it. And that helped me snap out of it. Did you ever see that movie? I think it's called Moonstruck with Cher and Nicolas Cage.
Yes.
When she slaps him in the face, he's like,
Yes.
snap out of it. You know, I had a snap out of it moment. And as it would happen, I was already experimenting a little bit with my first blend of tea, which was a lemon ginger blend. And I was drinking.
One of my faves.
When I tell you it is delish, it's delish. I am a home brewer, so my tea is served to my customers ready to consume. It's home brewed. It's brewed in batches, and I also do custom batches. So this lemon was something I was already working with, and we started treatment, and the treatment again, you know, it was every single day at the same exact time every day for 9 weeks. He had to go and have radiation treatments, and they told us, they give you a litany of things to expect. And
Mm-hmm.
when I was thinking about, okay, how can I support him? How can I be present for him? Not just praying, but go be a positive part of a very negative circumstance, right? I
Mm-hmm.
started researching, the type of cancer, and so this type of cancer feeds on testosterone and sugar. So of course,
So,
right away,
Erica, let me ask you, so was your husband a diabetic?
no, nope, really good health. He's super active. He's older. My husband is older than I am. He's 22 years older than I am, but very energetic, very active, outgoing, physical. He did landscaping for years. This is after he retired from his career, started another business, landscape. So very physical. No, he was not diabetic. Mm-mm. And still is not. Mm-mm.
Was it
Uh,
prostate?
yes, prostate stage 2 cancer.
Okay.
Yes. And the doctors were really worried. And I think, I'm glad you asked me that, Jay. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, when you said testosterone, I pretty much figured it was prostate.
Yes. One of the things I thought about too, and I'll get back to how the tea came into it, is as I've been moving through this journey, like how important it is for us to share these things, these experiences that we're going through with our families, with our family members, sharing our medical histories, fathers sharing with their sons, mothers sharing with their daughters, because if we don't let the next generation know how to take care of themselves, what to
Yes.
So,
that I'm sorry, Derek.
so let me add to that because I'm glad you brought that up, Erica, because I guess a lot of people don't understand the dynamics. Initially, even with 23andMe, for instance, which is one of the genealogy platforms, 23andMe was actually giving out that type of information based off of your DNA and your genetic makeup. Doctors actually started getting upset because they were releasing these information to the people who were purchasing their DNA kits. So what happened at that point was that the doctors started screaming, so they automatically told 23andMe, you're going to shut down until you have this patent. It took about 5 years before 23andMe could actually be given permission to provide that information because people were going to the doctors for prevention purposes and not because they automatically had it. And so the doctors were losing money. So even with you guys' platform, like even with Jay's platform, I've experienced it, and trust me, it is great. So even with teas now, when I was younger, was a tea drinker at night. It mellowed my mind. That was number one. Number two, it changed my mood. And so I do understand. So even with people that are sick, there are different types of teas out there that actually does the job better than the medication that they use as trial and error.
Mm-hmm. And that's really what we found out as we started, of course, the process of treatment. The doctor, as I said earlier, gives you a whole litany of things. This is going to happen, you can expect that's going to happen. There's the weight gain, there's depression, because shutting down a man's testosterone literally sends him into male menopause. So there's all of these really devastating things that you can expect. And I thought, my God, you're going to have to help us through this. Well, my husband, as he started initially going through the process of radiation, it began to affect his bones. And I had not really been brewing the tea like daily, but I noticed that when he would drink the tea like 2 or 3 days in a row, he didn't complain about that. And so I started working on my recipe. I started making it a little stronger. And I asked my family members if they would test it. Now, when I first started making the tea, it tasted like straight gasoline. Like
You gotta add some flavor into that.
Eric, it was a mess. It was like, I can take this outside. I don't ever have to go to the gas station again. My gas is right here, right? So, but my husband was a trooper. He started drinking it. My family members and I, worked it out and started tweaking it, and the discomfort went away. He was never nauseous, literally, until the last day of treatment. The very last day, 9 weeks, radiation every single day. He was only stomach sick the last day. I said, dude, you wait till the very last day to hurl right before we go? It was unbelievable. They told us he was going to gain weight and to expect that. My husband's a kind of big guy. He actually lost 33 pounds. They told
Wow.
33 pounds. He drank my tea every day, twice a day. They told us he would deal with depression and different. I'm sorry, you guys. Bye, baby. Good night. Mommy loves you. So of course he's gonna come back so you guys
Of
can.
course.
Look, he wants a photo op.
I told him mommy has to do, a program at 7 o'clock. So make sure you go to bed at 7:30. So anyway,
Listen, we know he's going to be in the camera soon then.
yes. So as he started drinking the tea, he started getting, comfort from the tea. But I noticed other things started happening, like the weight loss. Then the weight loss happened because the tea that I brewed is also an appetite suppressant. They told us he was sleeping, maybe 10, 12, 14 hours a day because he just had absolutely no energy. And initially that was the case. But when he began to drink regularly, he actually gained energy. He exercised every day. He went to bed at regular bedtime. He did not deal with mood swings or depression, any of those things. So, I sort of came into this company sideways. I brewed the tea not with the intention of becoming a business owner. I simply wanted to help comfort, the man that I love, my husband. I wanted his process to be as pain-free as possible. If he has to go through this, then Lord, my prayer was, show me as a wife how to comfort him, not just physically, but I need intelligent resources to help his body heal, to help him recover from this.
So Erica, let me ask a question.
Yes, Derek.
A lot of people don't understand that the resources are already there.
Yes.
And they never, and I mean, most of it is from the earth. And that's one thing that I, with the genealogy and everything, I learned that back way during slavery, we didn't have medicine, doc. We didn't have doctors that actually gave medicine. We actually went to the roots and everything else, and that's where our medicine actually came. And however, with statistics, it shows that African Americans actually survive or live longer than Caucasians. So, and so it is because of things like that we're talking about today, that if we start going back to those methods, we'll see that things in our lives, such as diabetes, prostate cancer, and all these different things we can change, but we have to go back to the original thing, which is the root. Because I guess one of the things I'm seeing is that all the chemicals and all these additives that they're adding into stuff is actually hurting us, and we don't pay attention to it.
We don't.
I want to say one thing real quick though. One of the things why I'm not a fan of the company 23andMe is what I believe is, if I pay you for an actual service and you provide an actual service for me, I think after you provide the service, I think that it should stop right there. What 23andMe do is they take in $100 or $150, I'm not sure of the fees, and they get your DNA. And then what they do is they keep your DNA in a database, and then they take all of the people's DNA and then they shop it to companies like Pfizer and Moderna and all of these other companies. Then these companies come back with the DNA that 23andMe sold them. So what 23andMe do is 23andMe charge me, and then you go ahead and take my information that you have and then sell it to Pfizer and Moderna and allow them to make a vaccination for me, which they call a COVID vaccination, and 23andMe get paid twice. That's my issue with 23andMe.
But it's not just, but Jay, let's not be, as they say, one-sided. it's not just 23andMe, it's all the DNA companies, because what I noticed is that all of the DNA companies now come back with disclaimers. For instance, I'm going to use GEDmatch, for instance, which is a compilation of all the DNA testing that people did. And initially, GEDmatch was used just for medical purposes. And so now GEDmatch now is also being used for genealogy purposes. And what happened eventually is that the police were actually using GEDmatch to actually find people that were criminals in their family. So,
Absolutely.
But then Derek, hold on. But why don't we take it even to the hill? What about labs? When you go get blood work done at the lab and they take all that blood from you, what do they do with the blood that they did not use? So it's not even just these DNA companies, but what about your doctors and these, once again, these lab companies? My issue is that many of us don't take the time to read the disclaimer on these forms that we sign off on, failing to realize that we just signed away our right to cause that company to not sell our blood or anything that they extract from us, including urine. So when we sign this paperwork, we don't even realize what we're signing. So we then in turn can't even sue these people because we signed our rights away.
And see, and one of the other things, original things that I found out, because I was with 23andMe years ago before their stuff started getting patent, is that every time that they decide to change something now, you really don't have a say-so in it. Like with 23andMe, I had the option to actually pull my DNA. For GEDmatch, they now give you the option to opt out of the police tracking and using your DNA to find relatives that have committed crimes.
And do you really believe?
Well, they have to go through a court now to get it, but it's still possible. I mean, people have to understand if you
just like we have the HIPAA law, just like we got the billions of privacy acts, and yet our information, how many of y'all get at least 5 telemarketing calls per day?
Facebook sells your information and your phone number every time you log onto its platform to do something.
But that's what I'm saying is that, but we have these so-called privacy laws in place. We have the HIPAA law in place, but yet they're turning around selling our information. The same with our banks.
But you know what, Nadella, I'm gonna add to that because you're right. But then what we fail to realize that when we start signing up for stuff, we're actually signing and giving them permission to do this. So I mean, it's not just Facebook, it's you giving people permission to do stuff and you don't even realize it because you decided that you want to click on something because you were interested in it. And now it's kind of forcing you to sign up for it. So I mean, with that being said, let's get back to the meat and potatoes of this conversation.
Let's get back to Erica and her wonderful skill set.
And so
saving her husband.
But the reason I brought that up, Erica, is because the stuff that you're talking about, it was back in the day what they actually used to save each other. And so absolutely. when you're really in, you have to really be involved with your own healthcare and your family members' healthcare, because the doctor gives you platform stuff, but you're the only person that's actually dealing with it and going with it internally because now you're experiencing it. So the doctor comes and they ask you 1,000 questions and you're answering the questions, kind of giving him an idea. But when you're experiencing it or going through it with somebody, it's totally different.
So we also experience something that ties right into what, you know, the turn we just took with this conversation. So the tea became so effective with Tom that, of course, they prescribed him tons and tons of pain medication. And he had a pain doctor, a pain management doctor. Now, he had a severe back injury like 30 some years ago. So he had a pain management doctor for years, but he would never go to the doctor. The doctor got really angry that he would only come like once every couple of years. And his logic was, which he said, you know, I don't want to become addicted to these painkillers. And he pushed himself physically and through prayer and faith and, you know, physical rehabilitation. And I understand that's not everybody's story and things don't work out the same way for everyone, but that's the way it worked for him. Well, we were in the doctor's office, the pain management doctor's office one day. And what he wanted was for Tom to come every month and to literally take pain medication in front of him. I never heard of such a thing in all my life.
Yeah, I know somebody, Erica, who had to do the same thing. Yes.
Tom refused. He told him, no, I'm not coming here every month. I'm not even coming here every year if I don't have to. Why? I don't need the pain medication. The man told us, then find another doctor.
Yeah.
Don't come back.
Well, what it was you was cutting into his funds.
Yes,
So
Yes.
every time you had to come see him, he was going to charge you for that visit. Plus, pain management doctors makes a lot more money than your average doctor.
And
yes.
don't forget their kickback from prescribing the pain meds too.
He told my husband, as of this moment, I am no longer your doctor. And that was just the most shocking thing to me. But I also realized, back to the tea and the health benefits, when we really take the time to begin to research and learn about our bodies and our genealogy and our generational issues. And I know that, spiritually, there's another flip side to that. But the truth of the matter is you have to deal with reality. When my husband refused to take the pain medication, his regular physician asked him, what are you doing? Why don't you need the pain medication? And he told him, I'm drinking the tea. His doctor told him, well, if it's working, keep doing it. So I'm learning even with the organic teas, because before Tom was diagnosed with cancer, I didn't know anything about organic anything. Of course, I see it on the news and you see it in the grocery store, but I had no interest in that. And my pastor said something to me one day where it was really interesting. We were talking about something. I don't remember exactly what the subject was, but he was asking me what my interest was in it. And I said, I don't really know about that. I'm not really interested in it. And he said to me, but what would it take for you to become interested? I was never interested in meeting Jay, an herbalist. I was never interested in being a part of a show or even watching a show that talked about health and these things that we're discussing tonight. The need for knowledge about what's happening with our DNA and our genes and our bodies. It just didn't interest me. I didn't have any major physical illness. I wasn't connected to anyone who really did, and it didn't interest me. But what it took for me to become concerned and to care in a way that was personal and to begin to research is the fact that I was touched by the feeling of my husband's infirmity. That touched me. Mm-hmm. So whereas someone else in the general public, yes, I can have sympathy, but the empathy came from becoming a caregiver and being up at night and wondering what's going to happen. What's that next doctor's report going to say? And yes, I do have faith, and I did pray, and I did believe God was going to heal him. But there are many people who have faith, who believe God's going to heal them, and they die every day.
But you know what, Erica? The true saying to that is, faith without works is dead. And people don't realize you got to have more than faith. You got to do something.
Yes.
And so if you don't do anything, then just having faith is not just enough. You have to actually do something.
And that was it for me. I began to pursue perfecting my recipe. I began getting him on a regimen. I started sharing about it tentatively at first because I was very nervous. I didn't know, I didn't intend to sell it, but I was like, well, maybe it will help someone. Maybe someone else will be interested. Maybe, it'll be of benefit to someone. And miraculously, because it has been a miracle, I cannot keep my tea in stock. Like, I'm at the point now where I'm like, Lord, I didn't mean for this to happen, but clearly this is your will. It's a tremendous blessing. The people that I've met, my customers, my EOT family, they are absolutely amazing. I've met people who are dealing with COVID, people who are dealing with Alzheimer's, people who are dealing with all types of autoimmune issues, people who are cancer survivors, people who have, like myself, seasonal and very bad allergies, which I have not taken allergy medication now in 8 months. And I had to take Zyrtec every single day. I couldn't function without it. I haven't taken allergy medication in 8 months. So I don't know where God is going to take us, but I'm definitely along for the ride. And thank you for the opportunity to share my story. I appreciate it.
So I also want to make clear to our audience that in conjunction with tonight's talk show, y'all know our discussion is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Mhm.
And part of why also I wanted to do a kind of a health talk show, because now they're saying there's a new strain of the coronavirus. One of the things that I want to say before I bring Jay on, and I want to say it at this point because I believe what Jay will share afterwards will somewhat, if not fully, support what I'm about to say. And I will put a disclaimer again. I am not a medical professional, but listen, I have been sick more than enough with the flu in my life. I mean, I've had ailments that none of my other siblings had. Most of my other siblings, there's 8 of us. Most of them suffered from ear infections. Me, okay, the odd duckling, really. I got everything else but an ear infection. I always seem to get that when I did get sick, it always seemed to be in the vocals, but I ain't gonna touch that because that's gonna take us to church. So I'm gonna leave that one alone. But it always seemed to always be in the throat area. I would end up with bronchitis. Now, for those of you who don't realize, we have a larynx and a pharynx. Most people get laryngitis. Well, me, I get pharyngitis.
Wow, I'd never even heard of that before.
Yep.
Pharyngitis.
We have a larynx and a pharynx, and they actually sit side by side. Most people get laryngitis, and the first time I was diagnosed with, I was like, what? I knew about the pharynx, but I'm like, I never heard of anybody ever getting pharyngitis. He said, yes, Miss Jordan, you have pharyngitis. I'm like, and
Wow.
it was so horrible. And when I get it, it literally changes the pitch of my voice. I go from an operatic pitch to a very white pitch.
Wow.
And this goes on for about a month that I transition from one pitch to the other. And so I'm just sharing that in terms of when we're dealing with just your general cold and flus, I want us to understand that, especially when it comes to flus, if anybody pays close enough attention, every year they develop a vaccine for the flu, for a particular flu that they think is going to come out that year. But what many people don't pay attention to is that sometimes the strain that comes out isn't even what you got the shot for. And so you end up getting sick. And I'm sharing this because I know people, as it began to register with them that, oh, there's another strain of the coronavirus. No way. It's really no different from the various strains that you get with the flu. Again, so I looked up a little bit, or I tried to get some information regarding this new strain. Let me remind everybody, we pretty much use the acronym COVID, but the true virus is the coronavirus. If you pay close enough attention, coronavirus itself has been around like for forever. If you look at your Lysol can, it will say SARS coronavirus on it. And this is not something that they've just been putting up there. Now, there was another version they had, and because when Corona came out, Lysol changed the ingredients, and now it's listed as SARS coronavirus. But coronavirus itself has been around for a very long time. It's just that, unfortunately, this particular strain has proven to be deadly because of, if you will, its properties. And so I looked up to find out, well, why are they calling this COVID-2? Because that they call it SARS-CoV-2 now. That's what they're calling this second strain. Yeah.
Nadella, hold on one second, because I'm glad you said that, because you're right. During the Obama administration, they brought up that there was going to be another severe virus coming along. And of course, 45 decided that he was going to close that office up. So with that being said, that we knew that there was another strain coming, but the idea of that he didn't care about that. It was that I want to tear down everything that Obama did to help the people because it was something that Obama established. But this office has always been there to actually make sure that the coronavirus wouldn't have gotten this far had that office remained within the White House. And I think that's one thing that we have not paid attention to, because it's always been said that there's going to be a severe virus coming. We knew this 2-3 years ago when Obama was in administration because he said it. And
Gary, can
then
you tell people why how you know this information? Also, sorry, can you also?
It actually it's public information, because if you go back to the office that was established that dealt with pandemics, it was an office out of the White House. And soon as Donald Trump got in office, that was one of the first offices that he closed.
Mhm.
And so when you look at it, it was that he didn't care whether it was going to come in or not. And then your second question would be, did he encourage this coronavirus to actually hit the United States, with the thing of saying maybe if we let it out a little bit and we can control it, then we can say we did something. However, it didn't happen that way. It actually took a toll for the worse. And because again, question is, was this tool going to be used as a legacy for Donald Trump to say that he actually did something?
And we know he was bent on creating a legacy for himself. And, you know, not to get too much into that, but go ahead, Erica.
He has.
He created a big old legacy with all the people coming into the Capitol.
And it's not and we know it definitely wasn't the one he was shooting for, but you know what? You get out what you put in. So this is something that he created. But just to finish up, and so I can give Jay also ample time because our time is getting away from us as well, is that, so again, so I did look up, so a little bit, so what little information I was able to gather, because this second COVID was first detected in the UK back in September of 2020. It then spread to South Africa by December of 2020. So here in Maryland, we have either 2 to 4 cases of this new strain. So in them, the little information that I was able to get that, you know, to try to help people to understand about this new strain, the only difference with this is that they say the protein, so apparently the coronavirus has a protein in it. And why they have now distinguished and created a COVID-2 is because they said it has mutated and the protein in it has changed, causing it to be something different. They have not been able to determine at this point how dangerous it is or anything of the sort. All they're basically doing is just encouraging everyone to continue with the same safety measures as before, because again, they still don't even know everything that they need to know about coronavirus 1. They're still grappling at trying to get a handle on this. They're saying ultimately the issue is that it's being spread from human to human. And they're saying that if we continue with the current measures, that number 2 may not be able to take off. One of the things that I did take away is that they said that there are many coronaviruses, but many of them are basically short-lived. Many of them don't develop to the stage that COVID has developed to. So just to let people know, and I'm only sharing this because one of the things that we've seen with COVID, number 1, I'm going to call it, is, or COVID-19 rather, is that there was a lot of fear-mongering information being put out, causing people to panic and act irrational, people running to the store, buying up stuff. Well, if you die tomorrow, you wouldn't spend $5,000 on food that you no longer gonna be able to eat. And so I'm hoping that we be smarter this time and not hit that panic button and say, oh, I gotta go do this, I gotta go do that. Let's be rational in all of our decisions, and especially concerning our health. So we're going to give Jay Davis the floor now, or the mic now, so he can share what does an herbalist do and what is his company about. We had him on, I think, about 2 months ago, but we didn't get a chance to have him to really fully share. So I wanted him to really just go in and, you know, just talk about what is an herbalist and what does his products do. And just lastly, I brought him and Erica on because, again, teas are herbs, and I thought they both would make a great tag team combination. All right, Jay, take it away.
You're in, Jay.
We are such a great tag team combination. And you know what, Erica, I love to hear stories about when people have loved ones that have issues and you don't rely on the doctors, just solely what the doctor says. Like whatever the doctor says literally isn't like written in stone. So I love to hear that you took it upon yourself to go, you know, do some research, to start making some tea. It's just beautiful to just hear the whole story. It's really inspiring. It almost makes people that watch this program, like, you know, when you find yourself in that situation, it's like, what do? You just start, you know, fighting to make things better. I think that's what drives all of us to the place where we are. Because I think, you know, when I started, it was literally, oh gosh, maybe 18 years ago. And I had individuals, I started basically with a basic detox I started making up. And then it just, before you know, it went into HIV, cancer, and it just flew out of my hands. And we just been going ever since. So basically, let me just explain, you know, as an herbalist, what we do is we practice holistic medicine. What I basically do is I have a few products that are like my stock products that's on herbalarc.com. I have things from a detox, from fibroids, something if you have like an STD, all of those things are online. But what I also do is I have customers that come to me and they might have issues and I make custom things for them. I have over, God knows, I can't even count the amount of herbs that I have. I normally do everything in powders. I do things in a actual capsule, a vegetarian capsules. One of the HP DM capsule, which is very easy to digest. I've been doing this for like so long. So normally when people sit with me, you know, anything you practice, you begin to get great at. And because I've been doing this for so long, when customers come and sit with me from cancer to HIV, is almost like it's a piece of cake. It's really easy just because of the years of practice that I have. So when I started out, though, I started in a basic detox form. And one of the things I think that we all should do is, you know, one of the greatest things to do is detox the body. I'm not familiar with your products, but I am going to look up and see all what you have. But I know you got a detox tea, I'm sure.
I do have a detox tea. Yes, I do have a detox tea. And actually, I'm in the process now of building a site because, Jay, like I said, this came at me sideways. It was not intentional. I'm not joking. I'm not joking when I say that.
And I can help you. I can help you with that. Whatever. I could give you some guys and help you get right on to the next level.
Thank you, Jay.
For me, you're welcome. For me, so what I still have is, even though I have a ton of online customers, I still have a bunch of customers that still come and see me physically. From high blood pressure, diabetes, the list goes on for any issue that they have. Typically, I have some customers that even if they don't live in my state, they just call me up, tell me the issue they have over the phone. I make a package for them and I send it in the mail. And I mean, they've been with me for so many years. So it's a level of trust there also. And the second thing is, you know, I know what I'm doing and I'm good at it. So I want to focus on what people is going to do, basically, like you said, for the New Year's. You know, one of the things in any event that you're trying to like lose weight, because I think that was a topic on getting healthy. One of the things that I have my people go on is no fruit, no yeast, in the event that you're trying to lose weight, because you know that yeast turns into sugar, which is glucose. And as African Americans, for all of us, that's terrible. You know, that is diabetes. That glucose in that, that's the worst thing ever, especially as a man, Derek. We know that glucose tears us down. So for your husband, even though he had cancer, you know, even when you are giving him an actual tea, one of the things that you probably should start focus on, and this is just for anybody that find themselves in that state when the individual have, you know, cancer, HIV, COVID, is focus on the diet first. That's the most important thing. You know, the glucose that we are intaking literally kills us. And be cautious on the actual meat that you take. And in the event that your husband was still having an actual diet for meat, you know, one of the things that you can do is if you were to soak your meat in cloves, black walnuts, even garlic, before you literally cook it, those are 3 herbs that anybody can use to soak their meat before they season it. It will kill a large amount of parasites so that even if your husband is dealing with cancer, you know, diabetes, high blood pressure, you can use those herbs to pre-soak the meat before you literally cook it, to use it as a cleansing method, you know. And still, even though we're still eating animals, which, you know, I want us to be able to come off of animals, but we got to take that in steps. What we want to be able to do is still begin to cleanse the body. You know, one of the things that we have to do is begin to cleanse out the colon and then focus on cleansing out the actual liver. So this is what I do with herbalwark.com. So this is my second time here.
Preach, Jay.
No, I hate to sound like I'm preaching and I'm going into like a preacher, but you know, when you do it every day, it just becomes like natural. It's like
Exactly.
just nature. So this is what we do. I tell everybody I have an aloe and mucus cleanse on my actual website. That's one of my products that we do. And my mucus cleanser breaks up the intestinal mucus in the body. Now, typically, when people have any problem with pharyngitis or laryngitis, it literally starts in the actual lungs. That's what it literally is. So the 2 things that we want to be cautious to with both of those is we want to be careful with anything that we're eating dairy, because it creates mucus, and, you know, anything that's fried, because
So,
that creates.
Jay, so since you won't say it, I'll say it. So those people who are dealing with coronavirus, the mucus is one of the things that the virus actually feeds off of and travels through the body. So now you can continue, Jay.
What we got to do is, the mucus is the root of all of it. You know, when an individual had cancer, we treat cancer differently though, because cancer is basically like an open sore. So it's almost like a sore. Now we have to begin to cleanse the actual sore, and we have to make sure that everything that the individual eats is very gentle to the body, and it's not literally irritating it. One of the things about the prostate is that prostate will begin to swell, you know, and then the person, when they typically have it, they will have issues with, you know, some of them will have issues with urinating, and then some of them will be frequently urinating. It'd be like constantly on and on and on and on and on. So in the event that, because I've had an individual with prostate cancer, but he had high blood pressure also. So that was a little different. So it was like he was on a water pill that was making him urinate more. But then we also had certain things to bring the prostate down, to shrink the actual prostate, because his prostate was beginning to swell. But one of the things that we do is we have, you know, I'm telling you, when you deal with customers like this, you know, delicious is something that all customers fight with. We all have a thing where we love great food. You know, it just feels good whenever we eat. So that's something that we have to practice. And my guy who had cancer, literally, we had to work on something because he began to crave sugar, you know.
Yeah.
He had a very big sugar crave.
Become a diabetic.
And, you know, that was just something that he had. I'm not sure. I never go and say like all individuals with prostate cancer will have that, but this is just something that he had. And then we had to go into something to curb the sugar cravings. And I have a product on my website that I literally sell, which is like a weight loss product. And it's a mixture of like moringa, gymnema, sea moss, and a few other herbs that's listed on there. And that will curb the actual sugar cravings. So, but whenever an individual had cancer, HIV. Those things I absolutely don't do a one-size-all mixture on the website. That's literally an email where we have conversations, because you can't prescribe herbs to those type of people in that condition, and they need monitoring. You need to check with them every 2 weeks when you give them certain things like that. And basically that's what I do. So that's a list of what Herbal Arc does there.
Okay.
I hope I really mentioned you.
So what caused you to become an herbalist?
What started me off? Actually, when I started off with having acid reflux, and I had sat with an herbalist in North Carolina, and she began to give me these actual products that began to make me feel better. And after I sat with her, and then I began to feel good with my acid reflux, I wanted to begin to sell it to other individuals. And she had a great plan for me. She wanted me to begin to study the body and learn how the body worked. And she wasn't really interested in having me sell it. She wanted me to begin to make it for myself. And we went on a journey for probably about 2.5 years, where she began to teach me. And a great woman. And what it does, and what I did is I began to learn the body. I learned, your ankles, literally, when they have a swollen ankle, it's something in their heart. If they have an issue in their eyes, it's their liver. When people have issues with their knees, it's literally their kidneys. So we began to study the actual body, and then I began to practice and study the actual plants. And I studied like American herbs first, and then I began to study, Chinese herbs. And
Yes.
that was the great peak when we began to study Chinese herbs, because it took like my skill set to a whole nother level.
Okay. So I was talking to one of my girly friends, and so unfortunately she had to have a hysterectomy. She was about 26 years old when she had a hysterectomy. And for those of you who may not realize that when you have a hysterectomy, it pushes you into menopause way earlier than what you're supposed to be.
Mhm.
So we was talking last week, and she was talking about how her menopause symptoms have gotten so bad for her. Now, she is a tea drinker. I don't know how much tea she drinks. I don't know what kind of tea she drink, but I do know that she does drink tea at times. And so she asked me to ask you, so basically her symptoms is that now she says she got so nauseous one day that she had to go home from work because she got so nauseous. She said that she gets, now I understand that there's hot flashes, but she said she got so sick one day that she thought she was going to pass out. And she wanted me to ask you, what would your recommendation be for her?
So typically, I want to touch the hysterectomy first. What she had was the fibroids on the uterus that was causing the extreme bleeding. We do have a fibroids capsule online. That fibroid pill literally is to stop the actual bleeding of the actual tumors. It cuts off the blood supply of the actual fibroids. And then eventually, as the customers begin to take the fibroid cleanser, is a particular way where the directions is written on the website. I do advise that they detox the second month while they're taking the actual fibroid cleanser, because the goal is to break up the actual fibroids so that when the women have their menstruation, the fibroids should literally come out in clots, like blood clots, in the actual menstrual. Based off of the size of the actual fibroids will literally determine if it's going to take the client literally, 5 months, 6 months, 8 months. And then we also need to focus on the actual diet that she has, that she cuts off of, that she be careful with dairy, because what dairy does is it causes the tumors to grow even larger. We got to be very careful with even dairy byproducts. So then the second thing with her actual hot flashes, I have a hormone balancer that literally balance out her hormones with her bodies. But any event that she's having like really, really extreme hot flashes, I'm going to suggest that she probably has some dryness, because a lot of times what women will have is some dryness in the intestines, dryness in her actual lungs. And that is why she's feeling like really, really woozy, because the things are dry. So I do have a hydration pill. I don't think that hydration is on the actual website. So typically, if she had to take anything, she doesn't need the fiber cleanser because she already had the hysterectomy now.
Right.
She needs a hydration pill, and she would need an actual hormone balancer. In the event that she wanted to try something on her own, I will suggest this also. She can take black seed oil. Black seed will give her a little bit of moisture. I think black seed literally will only work for the actual intestines. It will create a bowel movement, but I'm not sure if her lightheaded and dizziness, will it work for that? She still will need an actual hydration pill to stop that right there. And if she looked this up, because whatever I say, I want people to be able to go and do some research online, look on the internet, and she would be able to see that her unbalanced hormones and her hot flashes is literally coming from dryness in her body.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
So I will, what I will do is I will send her your link, and then I will also share with her some of the things or all the things that you told that would probably benefit her based on her symptoms. And what I'll do is that I will also tell her, because I believe your email is on the website, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so, and I'll tell her if she's unsure to reach out to you before she orders anything to ensure that she purchases what she needs. Because one thing about me is I don't want to recommend and say, hey, you know, he said to do this, and they say, oh, well, it didn't work. So what I'll do is, one thing I do is that I like to double check. So
Yeah, well, that's good. I don't like to just sell a product where people can't have some form of guidance. I think that when you're going through those issues, in order to correct them, you need a level of guidance. You need someone to walk with you through the steps. So therefore, you're not just wasting your money, and then you have some knowledge of what you're taking in the process that it's taking in order to heal you.
I think one of the key things that Jay just said too, Nadella, is that you can go out there and research this. And that's a key thing that a lot of people don't understand. He's giving you the tool right there that you can go out there and look this up. So, and so that's a plus, because he's not just saying this, he's telling you that you can go out here and look this stuff up.
yes.
I think it's really important too, if I may say,
Yes.
to have forums like this and individuals like Jay who are willing to share information openly. And as you shared, you know, what your friend is going through, a lot of times we as women go through things in our bodies, and men, I can't speak for men, I'm not a man, but we don't talk, you know, maybe out of embarrassment, shame,
Yes.
you know, lack of confidence, just feeling like, okay, how do I say this? Who do I say it to? Who do I take this information to? And I find that even when I talk to individuals sometimes about the tea, I never press it on anyone. You know, people 9 times out of 10 ask me about the tea, and I'll tell them what it does. And then without me even asking, they begin to share different things that are going on, you know, with their health, with their bodies, different things that they're experiencing. And I have to, you know, remind them, I'm not a medical professional. I honestly still don't know all that my tea does. I mean, I'm finding out literally, you know, week by week, month by month. But I think tonight, and I'm so overjoyed, Jay, thank you for all of the amazing information. I'm definitely going to reach out to you. I think it's so important for us to be open and share our health issues with our communities, with our families, with our children, with our churches. You know, we're dying because of a lack of knowledge. My people perish because of a lack of knowledge. We just don't know where Jay is. We just don't know what he has. We just don't know what it does. I'm just using you as an example, Jay. When these things, we're suffering, many of us in silence.
Yes.
And it's not necessary. We don't have to.
Yes.
So thank you for letting me say that.
So I have a question on Instagram. Someone is saying that their mom is a breast cancer survivor, but she's suffering from fatigue. What's something that would give her energy? And Erica or either Jay or both of you can answer.
Well, I'll answer first, and then I don't want to step on Erica's feet. Any event that I think that she's a breast cancer survivor, most of the times, in my experience, whenever an individual is having an issue with energy, because what they do is when they have an issue with energy, they consume a lot of sugar. So even though she's a breast cancer survivor, I want to be very cautious to make sure that her iron levels is good and make sure that her glucose level isn't too high. Because typically, if her iron level is low, it could cause fatigue.
Right.
Fatigue, and if her glucose level is too high, it can cause fatigue. So one of the things that I do for a lot of customers that sit with me, especially the individuals that's over 40, let's say if you want a particular regimen to where we detox, I give you something to detox your actual body. If you're a woman or male over 40 years old, I say, well, let me give you something as a preventative measure for diabetes. I give them a preventative measure for high blood pressure in the event that you are not on a blood pressure pill. And then I will go into something for like thyroid or just like a multivitamin, some ginseng, something like that for overall health. That's the regimen that I typically run people on when they come and sit with me for a very first time. For the actual mother, I want to say that I want her to check her iron level and then check her glucose level. And typically, if she's a woman over 55, 9 times out of 10, it's probably her glucose that she's having an issue with.
Yes,
So
she's over 55.
Lower the glucose level, and sea moss alone will not do that. We have this thing to where everybody is running for sea moss for everything. Sea moss is a vegetable. We use sea moss as a vegetable. Sea moss will give certain individuals energy, but in the event that she's going into diabetes, it absolutely will not work for her.
Mm-hmm.
So let Erica talk now.
Okay. One of the things that I discovered with my husband, with Tom, is that and I'm not sure if this relates to the young woman's mom, but when he was in pain, it sapped his energy. So being in pain, I realized also saps, your strength, your energy.
Yes.
And I didn't know until I started making the tea and he started drinking it that dairy products create mucus. Mucus causes inflammation. Inflammation in turn brings about pain, and that pain was zapping his energy. So the lemon ginger blend that I make, he drinks that twice a day. And we had to stop him drinking it at night. So he'll drink it in the morning and like around lunchtime, because if he drank it too late at night, he'd be up wired all night. Something Jay said earlier, which was very important, was about detoxing and also cleaning out the digestive system. That's another thing I think we don't talk enough about, colon health. Mm-hmm. And how important detoxing, removing those toxins out of the body is. I had a customer tell me one time, she took my tea and she's like, I would drink your tea more, but every time I drink your tea, I just have to go to the bathroom. And if I can, be transparent, I said to her, are you saying that you're experiencing diarrhea, a discomfort like that? She said, no, I just go to the bathroom. And I asked her, I said, how do you feel afterwards? She's like, well, I feel much better because I'm going more. So what she was telling me is when she actually does go, her body was eliminating more waste toxins. It was ridding itself of more fecal matter. And having those toxins loaded up in the body, those toxins start to seep into our bloodstream. Yes. And that causes achy joints and muscles and brain fog and fatigue. So as Jay was saying earlier, I think looking into detoxing, everything doesn't work for everybody. But another thing that helped with energy for Tom, my husband, was bee pollen. It's not in my teas. It's just something, he takes in addition to the tea, but it's a bee pollen tablet. and of course, I'm not a medical professional. I'm just sharing, what works for us. And I started taking it. And one day I told my husband, I said, I'm not going to take that bee pollen tablet today because I feel like if I do, I will fly around this neighborhood like 50 times. Like I'm doing everything I ever should have done in my entire life in one day. That's how I felt because it produced so much energy. So
Mhm.
maybe that would be an option, as well to consider.
One of the good things about this platform, and I'm glad that everybody's talking about it, is how to bring energy back to people, because even with people going through depression, they
Yeah.
need energy. And
Yeah.
so that you're saying these things are out there, and listen, and it's not prescribed by a doctor, it's stuff that you can actually get. And so again, depression is a thing of the mind, but there are things out there that are just natural that we can actually use to get us with energy, get us back in the lifestyle that we're comfortable with instead of staying in a place that we shouldn't be. Because again, I don't know if y'all know, but depression is a killer for
It
a lot
is.
of people because we sit there. But with these platforms and the herbs and the tea, it is actually bringing to life that there are people that can be rejuvenated.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm glad that Erica with the tea and the bee pollen, and Jay, you my guy, because with all of the stuff that we've talked about, and I wish Lincoln was here, because these are the two guys who got me straight with knowing about herbs, and stop messing around with the doctors as much, because you don't have to, because there are things out there that you don't have to pay as much for than having to go to the doctor and you're paying an arm and a leg for, that are actually just natural herbs that can help you.
Mm-hmm.
But also let us be mindful that in our effort, and certainly this show, we're not boycotting the medical profession,
No, not at
because
all.
one thing I know is if God did not want us to have doctors or to be seen by a doctor, they would not exist. For those of you who have read your Bible and go to church regularly, you know that Jesus had a physician that walked with him. Now, why would Jesus need a physician to walk with him and he's Jesus? And I'm just saying that doctors have their place.
Correct.
Unfortunately, if I can say this, hopefully I don't get in trouble for saying this. Unfortunately, in this day and age, the medical field has become more about money than truly helping people. Because when you look at how much some of these medications cost, now I'm not saying that they should give the store away free, because it costs them money to produce these medications. So how many of y'all remember the EpiPen?
I
That
have one.
cost of the EpiPen went up. I think they said it was 300 or 400%. The price was astronomical. Why would you do that when you have a lot of kids who use an EpiPen? Why would you do that?
I think the
It
other
wasn't
thing to that,
until they
Bella, is
made this
supply and
big
demand.
thing.
I
Huh?
think the other part to that is supply and demand, because right now there's an EpiPen shortage. At least that's what they say. So of course the
Yeah,
EpiPen
right.
is going to go up right now because of the shortage and the demand for EpiPens.
But my thing of it is that why is there a shortage? I think a lot of this is bogus as a justification for them to charge what they charge for these medications. But then when we look at the side effects of a lot of these medications, so I so I don't know if any of you ever heard of this condition. I have a hiatal hernia. That is a condition that cannot be fixed through surgery or anything. Ultimately, it's dealing with my stomach and intestines. They're kind of twisted up. And so for me, I have to limit the amount of fried foods that I eat. So I eat very little fried foods. Um, I really have to watch the things that I eat with it. And what happens having a hiatal hernia, the normal person, it takes them 24 hours to digest their food. For me, it takes 48 to 72 hours. And the more I eat, the longer it takes. And so people didn't understand why I eat a lot of PB&J and a lot of cereal. And I know what y'all saying about the with the mucus and stuff, but listen.
You eating glucose because you got a hiatal hernia? I gotta send a whooping right over to you, a lashing, because we just talked about stop eating that glucose, and that's not the reason why you don't eat glucose, because you got a hiatal hernia. You be very cautious on what you eat, but don't just stop all the fried food. Stop them pretzels, stop that white bread, stop them chips, and French fries, because those things are fried. I know exactly what you had. And what happens here when you eat, your food sits right in your chest. I'm banging on my chest. It sits right here in your chest, and it doesn't go down all the way. I had an individual with that issue. So what we had to do is give him something that was able to force his food down. It was a digestive pill, and it will allow you to digest that faster, so you don't have to, because if you eat late at night, you have to sit up because you have
at least 2 hours.
Yeah,
I have to wait at least 2 hours before I can go to bed. And I'm saying that the reason why I eat cereal and PB&J because it's light and it doesn't take as long.
There's nothing light about that peanut butter.
It is.
PB&J is because your pancreas is damaged and your body craves sugar. That's why you eat that.
But I don't eat it all the time. I've actually since cut back on it. I'm just saying, well, we got to have a conversation, Jay, after the show.
Nodella,
Yes.
Nodella, there's a detox water recipe that I found on, this was a couple of years ago. This is before I even started making the tea.
Is that the one I think that's the first one.
Yes, that I shared. That's the one that kind of started me researching, about the tea. It's a detox water, and it works literally like within 24 hours. If you're a person that holds on to excess water, if you're having problems eliminating, it begins to work within about 24 hours. And it's very simple to make. It's a gallon of water, 1 sliced lemon, 1 sliced, cucumber, and a little mint. You let it, what do you call when it just sits and it diffuse, right?
How much mint?
And not too much, because I have found that if you put too much mint in this particular mix, it causes the mix to sour. So I would say maybe a sprig or two. Just the mint acts as a natural deodorant, an internal deodorant. So you'll take a gallon of hot water, you're putting those things in, you refrigerate it. Once it gets cold, it's ready to drink. And it helps lower blood pressure. It starts to curb your craving for sugar. It helps with elimination, and not, where you'll be uncomfortable, that you can't be out in public. It's not that. It's that when you go more. If you're a person, my friends who travel, who drive long distance, their ankles always swell, and I tell them, take it with you. Soon as you get home, start drinking, and within 12 hours, that water is eliminated. It's something that I discovered even before my husband got sick, and it may be of benefit to you with the issue that you're dealing with.
Now, do you use mint leaves or do you use liquid mint?
I use fresh mint, everything fresh.
Okay.
Everything fresh.
I want to give another detox also that you all could do natural. Although I use a lot of organic plants and all of my herbs are plant. I use all things from the earth, just everything plant-based. But being as though both of you two are Christians, here's one of the easiest detox that you could do, and it doesn't cost you.
Wait. What? Chris, I got to hear that. I'm really paying attention now because the Christian part piqued my interest. I'm like, what is this about to be about?
Well, Christianity, because I have a few Christians that sit with me, and in Christianity, one of the things that you all do is you fast and you pray.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
I'm assuming now, because when I sit with my That's one of the things that they do. And don't you know, fasting is one of the easiest ways to detox the body.
Would that be what's called intermittent
Meaning
fasting?
not eating at all.
Just regular fasting.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how the ministry works or how you all operate when you all do your fasting, but typically if we fast, we will fast. And sometimes we got to walk people into fasting. And when we say fast for 12 hours, we're not considering the 12 hours that you sleep. So if you fall in bed from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., we're not counting that time frame. We're counting the time that you up. That fasting starts during sunset. Yes. So typically, if you fast for 4 hours your first day, 8 hours the next day, 12 hours.
Yeah, we call that a progressive fast.
Yes.
Yeah. Me and my daughter was talking about that tonight for my granddaughter.
And one of the things that you do is any event in that fast will lower your actual blood pressure. That fast allows the body, because what happened here is when we begin to fast, what we literally breathe in is oxygen. And what happens when we breathe in oxygen, those cells inside our body, when they begin to die off, creates hydrogen. And that hydrogen and oxygen inside our body creates water. That water will give us actual moisture. And that moisture that our body needs, we can use that for the hot flashes and for diabetes, which is only for dryness of the intestines, not for high glucose. So what happens when we fast, it will also lower our glucose levels. Mm. So any event that you are not on any high blood pressure medicine and you're not on any diabetes medicine, a fast can be very, very effective for you if you just do that. Just fast. And I mean, let's say we're not taking no herbs, no teas, just fasting. You're not taking nothing.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jay.
I'm glad that you brought that out to a biblical term, Jay, because again, the Bible does talk about a lot of fasting. And so this actually answers the question why they did a lot of fasting.
Because the fasting because basically with the body, just imagine it's like an actual oven. When the oven is beginning to cleanse itself, you can't cook in the actual oven. So as the body begins to actually heal, we can't begin to put things inside of it. So in the event that we need the body to heal, we have to literally stop eating and the body will typically heal itself. That's one of the things that if you have a customer and they come to you and they all have like a kidney disease, and let's say like the kidney's not working properly, one of the things that you got to be able to do is give them like a tea. Now this is when you begin to use a tea, especially and I'm not a herbalist that typically make teas because I do a lot of powders, but in the event that I have to give a customer, I will order like some whole herbs and literally give them a tea. Typically, if this customer has issues with their kidneys, not diabetes, more or less, let's say like diabetes went to the second level to where, she's on dialysis or something of the effect. We start giving her tea with an actual fast so that the body can begin to heal itself.
So in other words, Jay, you're saying that because the kidneys do a lot of filtration, that is actually good to actually help with the filtration and the cleansing of the kidneys.
The kidneys will begin to heal themselves. The kidneys will begin to heal themselves when we stop eating.
Okay.
And that's very powerful too, because one of the effects of fasting, according to the Bible, the word of God, is that our health springs forth speedily.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, do we have any questions from our audience? Let me see. So I had a couple of people here on Instagram, and the person who asked about the fatigue for their mom said, thank you very much for that. And that was all the comments that I have on Instagram at the moment. And we're actually at 8:25. So Erica, the last thing I wanted to ask you as we wrap up, can you share what are some of the flavors that you have? What are some of the blends that you have?
So I do a lot of custom blending. My three main flavors are lemon, ginger, and turmeric is in all of my teas. This past summer, I created a blend. I wanted to do sort of like a summer, something cool and
I
light. And
remember,
breezy.
yeah.
Yeah, the mango berry, and it was only supposed to be in, production for the summer. And so I can't take it off the menu now because people just go work
Oh,
about that.
Erica, I want to ask. So, what do you sell? Like tea bags to us, or what? How does the tea come?
No, I actually don't sell the tea, and it's brewed tea. So
Oh, so tea.
I don't have pricing for the tea. Customers give me what they can afford to pay.
Erica, you're gonna be blessed.
Because
So wait
in
a
one
minute.
season, so
It's already brewed, and what you do is you bottle it.
it's in 32-ounce containers.
Oh, okay.
So I will be moving to bottling. But one of the pricing thing is really weird too, because that may change in the future. I'm praying and hoping that the Lord will give me a plan that I don't have to change it. But one of the things, this is another part of my story, is when my husband got sick, I had to stop working. And so that affected our income, of course, drastically. And one of the things I thought about is, what if someone needed this but couldn't afford it? What if someone needed this, but just literally did not have the means? Because once I stopped working, there were things that I could no longer afford. Even, people would tell me, for self-care, you're a caregiver. And, so you're taking really great care of your husband and he's losing weight. He was losing weight. I was gaining weight. He was sleeping better at night.
You
I'm
were
stressed
stressing.
out.
You were stressing for him.
Derek, yes, he's eating well. I'm, eating my plate and half of the baby plate. When I wasn't eating PB and J, I was eating everything else in the refrigerator. So, that even that, I would love to be a part of a caregiving segment, because what happens is all of our energy goes to the individual
Mhm.
that's not well, and so
Thank you
I
for sharing that. And I know that was nothing but the Lord, because Derek, I know initially we was talking about doing a teen talk on the 28th, but
Mhm.
as I was sitting here earlier today, kind of meditating, sleep, because of what we're talking about, I was going to talk to you. I want to change it to a caregiver segment, and I was going to ask you to come back on. So thank you.
You know what, Nadella, and you were right up the same alley that I was on, because believe it or not, me and Netta had just finished talking about that very issue earlier today. And people don't understand the
know,
stress that a caregiver,
yes,
especially when it's a family member, the
yep,
stress that it puts on the caregiver.
yep,
So you're
yep.
right on target.
And I thought about that, as I was starting to deliver to customers, and one of my customers said something to me one day, and it just broke my heart. She said, I wanted to call you last week. My knees were hurting me so bad, and I wanted some of your, because one of the flavors I do is a turmeric orange.
Mm.
And she said, I wanted some of that turmeric tea. And she said, but I didn't have any money. And, but I get paid next week and I'm going to order. I said, honey, I'm bringing that tea tonight. And the Lord gave me a plan. And when I tell you, just like the widow woman in the Bible, the Lord has sustained me. When I began to formally produce the tea for production, you do actually make orders available, was one night. It's my last little story. My husband was in the cancer, full in, the treatments, and I had lost my job. I wasn't working, and I'm just praying, Lord, how are we going to make ends meet? I was washing dishes and I was brewing the tea, but not for, mass consumption. I was washing dishes, and we had gotten two bills that day that were just really, I don't know how we were going to pay them. And I said to the Lord, Lord, you're going to have to give me a plan. The Lord spoke to me as I was washing dishes, and he said, go get your pots. Now, in my family, I'm not the one at the family reunion or the family gatherings that they're like, oh, Erica, bring the macaroni and cheese. So they don't want me to bring nothing except sodas, juice, paper plates. Now, they do me so bad, Derek. They really do me wrong. It's not even right, and they don't care. For the Lord to say that to me, I was like, this is prophetic. God is getting ready to do something. I'm not sure what, but I got those pots out. And, you know, that was during a time where my tea was kind of still tasting like gasoline. But I put out a post and I asked for beta testers. I asked, would, you know, 6 or 7, maybe 8 people, would you be willing to be a beta tester for me? And those beta testers, yep, remember that? And those beta testers are still my customers today. I listened to their feedback. I listened to what they had to say. I started tweaking. So we started with the lemon ginger, orange turmeric, apricot date, and mango berry. And then of course I do variations of, you know, custom blends. Like I have one customer, she cannot digest any citrus whatsoever. So, and then I have another customer, she cannot stomach ginger. So I do small batch custom orders as well. I don't know how that will play out in the future, but you know, so far that's how it works.
So Erica, let me say this, because
Yes,
me and Nadella had this talk a couple of months ago about the pandemic brought about a lot of changes in people's lives. So if the pandemic didn't happen, you wouldn't have been able to exercise that gift of your teas. So last year I opened my business thanks to Nadella, because Nadella kind of pushed me. But even though the pandemic was going on and I was still working, God birthed my dream of actually opening my own paralegal services. But one of the things about what I'm learning is that if you got to provide the means, if you exercise the gifts. So I noticed that you said something that was very interesting, even Jay, that when you give something, even though you're not expecting something, God's going to bless you with more of it. And so your customers and the people that you base as your customers, when they don't have and you give it to them, or you allow people to give you what they can, God will flourish you with more. And that's the thing, is that it could be, and I tell, me and my wife had this talk, is because when you think you don't have no money or you don't know where income gonna come in, God will bless you at that moment, long as you're in the right place in the wrong mind, that he's gonna bring it to you. You don't know where it's gonna come from, but it's gonna come. And so I'm glad that you said that, because again, I've been there. Like I said, when I started with Jay, I brought one product from Jay, and Jay wound up sending me 2 additional products. And let me tell you something, those products do work. And then the people that you actually get those products, when they can speak highly of your product.
Yes.
Because word of mouth is the best way of advertisement. People don't realize that. Word of mouth is, I mean, you can do commercials or whatever, but let me tell you something. When you have people to back up stories of your product, then that's the best thing that you can ever, because that's your reputation.
That is so true. That is so true and so powerful, Derek. You know, I have to say, I have come this far by faith. And even tonight, I was so excited and honored, you know, that Nadella would even include me on this platform. I was excited to be here. I was definitely excited to meet Jay and to learn from him, because again, you know, he is an experienced individual in this field, knowledgeable, has put years and years into studying and learning his craft. And I actually came into it out of necessity. I needed something to relieve my husband's pain. His concern was, I do not want to be dependent upon painkillers. I do not want to become addicted to painkillers. I don't want that in my life. And that thing just, it prompted me into action. But it was also, again, part of a divine orchestration, because my teas, every one of my teas are immune system boosters. Well, I have, and this is something that, you know, it's really weird because it affected me in a very complex way. My business has boomed since COVID because of family members who have COVID who are still home, so they haven't had to be hospitalized. But the lemon ginger blend is healing. It is soothing. It is an expectorant, so it brings up mucus. When I tell you, I'm still learning all these things that the tea does. It's unbelievable. So you're right. You're right about, you know, the COVID.
Do you use black tea or green?
I don't use any tea leaves. I literally just use the roots. I do not use any tea leaves at all. So it is a tea, but
Oh.
it's not made out of any tea leaves.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
And so, again, as I said, this is all the Lord's doing. It really is. And my concern and my goal has, as Derek was saying, my customers have been my public relations managers collectively. I don't have a website. I don't even have a landing page. I have an email address. I just, contracted with someone literally a couple of days ago to start getting that into formation to become more streamlined so I can service my customers more effectively.
Erica, before you do that, go ahead and get your business license. Because
I
what
do
you
have,
want to do is make sure
I'm an LLC. I do have my business license and EIN number. Yep, all that stuff I have in
okay.
place.
So,
Yes,
so
sir.
make
Thank
sure
you.
you're getting credit for your services.
Yes. Thank you, Derek. I appreciate that. Yes, I did do all of that. Once I realized, okay, this could actually move to the next level and bless more than those, in the shoreline area and greater, New Haven area. But of course, too, and I talk about this with the young ladies that I mentor, you need to do things legally.
Mm-hmm.
That's something.
And so your next step is patents.
Yes.
Your next step is going to be getting your stuff patented.
Yes.
Can you patent recipes?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I don't, because I'm not a patent officer. I didn't know you can patent recipes.
Yes, you can.
Wow.
Okay.
So this is a journey, and even platforms like this, there are other individuals like us who are home brewers, cottage brewers, herbalists. I met a teologist a few weeks ago.
Hey, a teologist.
Yeah. Yep, and I would love to connect you with her, Nodella.
Yeah.
So Jay, we're gonna change your title. Jay, we're gonna change your title. Herbalologist.
Oh,
And so, I've learned platforms like this are just great forums to share information and educate, the world about what's out there and what we have access to.
Erica, also, the last thing I want to ask you is, what do you sweeten your tea with? Because I noticed when you, a while back, you shared what you use as a sweetener. And if you could also share, why do you use that as a sweetener as opposed to regular sugar?
So I don't, I use agave, but I don't put agave in the tea. I provide agave in little sample containers with the tea, but I also, in the paperwork that I provide with the tea, I also explain that even though agave is a little healthier than honey and white sugar, it's still something you want to use sparingly. And if you can drink, train your palate to drink tea without adding an additional sweetener, that's the way to go. Because someone who has diabetic concerns, agave could potentially be a negative thing. And also, I think back to what Jay was saying earlier, we really have to get to the place where we stop training our bodies to remain addicted to those things we've addicted them to traditionally and generationally. I never thought I'd be able to drink a cup of tea without sugar until I met this teologist. I walked into the place and she handed me a cup of tea. She's like, I want you to try, just right off the bat, I want you to try this. As soon as I had an appointment with her. And I drank the tea and I was like, there's no sugar in this. But I thought, okay, it is rude for me to be like, spit this out. So let me just, and I noticed I was actually tasting the tea and the sugar.
Yes.
I drank the cup. It was delicious. And I remembered the flavors. It didn't taste like, this is just sugar in hot water with a little flavoring. I actually tasted the beauty, the flavor, the aroma. It made me inhale deeper and pay attention to what I was drinking. So it is agave that I use, AGAVE. But I would recommend that if you can, condition yourself to where you don't need to add sugar, then don't do it.
So my last question for you, Jay, is there a natural sweetener
Mm.
that is good?
Um, a natural sweetener. So here's what and I can't think of the sweetener off the top of my hands if I had to suggest it. But in the event that I'm just going to say if I made a tea and I had to use a sugar, I probably would use molasses.
Mm.
You know, one of my former schoolmates he made some oatmeal raisin cookies with molasses, and I'm just like, gross me out because I hate molasses, but gone.
I would use molasses because of it has a nutritional benefit. I don't want to use anything like a fermented, anything processed.
Mhm.
So when we go into stevia, you know, it's processed. I mean, if I had to use cane sugar, I'm just saying what I would sell. If I had to sell something with a sweetener, I may use cane sugar or molasses. Those would be my two. I would probably use molasses first, cane sugar second. If there is an actual plant, I can't think of it off the top of my head. I can't think of the one plant that they do that is like a sweet. I never used it before. Because you know the stevia has a white form and is a brown form. The white form is like the sugar one that they use. The brown one is the natural plant. I don't think that that's much of a sweetener. The good thing about agave is, although it's still processed, it tastes good.
It does.
The difference with molasses is not the best taste, but it does give us some nutritional value. So I think if I had to make something, I would focus on the nutritional value. But I mean, keep in mind, this is a drink. So if I'm selling it to the masses and they got to be for profit, I probably would use cane sugar over agave. That's just me.
Well,
Yeah.
last year I had the opportunity to actually work as a temp at Domino Sugar here in Baltimore.
Mhm.
And the HR representative took me on a tour of the plant, and she began to share with me the process that the sugar went through. And I was like, what? And when she showed me the process, because they also had videos and things of that nature, I was very surprised at how much processing sugar have to go through. I know they was working on another process where to minimize the amount of processing that the sugar go through, but they do also make molasses as well, which just still, I'll have to warm up to that one. I think I'll probably, if you say, Nodella, here's a cup of tea, either molasses or drink it straight, I'll take it straight, because molasses.
Well, here's the thing. I think if you use a small amount of molasses, and I'm just making a recipe off the top of my head. If I use a small amount of molasses, if you put the right amount of lemon, ginger in it, you could put a little bit of cinnamon in it.
Okay, and balance.
I think the turmeric, lemon, ginger can balance off the off, and cinnamon can balance off the off taste of the molasses. You know, now what you may have to add to the molasses is, if you're trying to get it really sweet, I may go into a brown sugar, you know, because of the, I know that the brown sugar, the properties of the brown sugar melt down really easy. I absolutely would not use white sugar by no means. In the event that the tea was cold and I was serving it cold, my cane sugar, I would probably have also an issue with that, because the cane sugar don't break down that well. So I would go into molasses, brown sugar. That's just still me.
Okay, great. All right. Well, our time is up. I tell you, I know for me, I don't know if y'all saw me starting to take some notes. This definitely, also for myself, especially being a tea drinker, and really also personally wanting to improve my overall health, Tonight's talk show definitely is beneficial. And I know, even though, okay, so Kia did respond. She says, yes, Erica, necessity plus action at God's direction can create prosperity even when you can't see the forest for the trees.
Yes, yes.
And then
that's exactly where I was too.
Okay. Okay. And then for you, Jay, Kia says molasses is thick, so you don't have to use as much. So, and you just said that you really don't have to use a lot of it. All I remember is as a kid when I tasted it, and I mean, maybe because I'm older now, you know, the taste may not be as bad as I thought it was, because there's a lot of things, or a few things, not a lot, but a few things that I did not like or eat as a kid. But for some reason, now that I'm older, my taste buds have changed. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually good. Now, I used to put, and don't y'all kill me on this one, I used to put 6 teaspoons of sugar or tablespoons of sugar in my tea.
I'll try 8.
I am down to,
Try 8.
I am down to anywhere from 1 to 2, depending on if I want to taste the sweetness or if I just want to kind of cut that bitterness. And then I've even been training myself, like you said, Erica, is to just go straight. And some of those flavors, because that particular tea is flavorful, you really don't need the sugar, because like you said, you really get to enjoy the trueness of that flavor. Yeah. And I'm like you, I smell my food anyway. So, but I smell my tea, and just the aroma, it's like,
it's so delicious. Yes. It's so, my husband says to me all the time, why do you smell things and say it's delicious? You haven't tasted it. Because I can just tell it's delicious.
Yes.
My suggestion, Odella, what I think you should do is, and I think everybody on this platform, what we all should do is, even though I know a lot of people crave sugar, but in the event that you crave sugar in your house, if you're not using, throw away all white sugar. Let's just start off with throwing away all white sugar, and let's replace it with a brown sugar or a cane sugar.
So Jay, there's a sugar out there called sugar on the raw, and it's the brown
sugar. Yeah.
And that's the best.
Brown sugar, because we're trying to get some nutritional values. But what I want us to do is, let's throw every product in our house away that use high fruit corn syrup. If we got peanut butter and jelly, let me tell you, if we don't have a jam without high fructose corn syrup, we do not use it. If the peanut butter has high fructose corn syrup in it, we do not use it. If the ketchup has high fructose corn syrup in it, do not use it.
Now ketchup, definitely, when I do buy ketchup, which actually is not that often because I don't use ketchup a lot, but that is something I picked up a few years back. And so when I do have to buy it, I do make sure it does not have that in it. So that's 1 point for me.
I think if I had to throw away tonight all the white sugar in my house and everything that had high fructose corn syrup in it, you would need to do another program on people being flailed to death by their families over sugar. So Jay, I am not doing that tonight. We're gonna have to work on it gradually because I need some place to stay and I don't need to be beat to death while I'm here.
So Nadella, one of the things I guess we're gonna probably need to do this year is a challenge.
Oh, okay.
And so that this could be one of the challenges that we look at is people cutting down on sugar. Or things that are high in fructose.
You know what? Not a bad idea, cuz. Not a bad idea.
That's a great idea.
All right.
So this year we're going to be looking to do a couple of challenges in a couple of areas. And this will be one of those areas that we need to kind of address to see where you are. And this is not a one-day thing. This is a week-long thing to see if you can do it for a week and see how much weight you lose in that week.
Wow.
And that means take a picture of the scale of what you are, and then at the end, take a picture to see how much you've lost because you stopped eating all of that sugar.
Or not even just how much weight they've lost, but even, you know, how much better their body feels.
Mm.
Because
Feel,
I
how
have
you
to
feel.
tell you that I have been tweaking my diet and tweaking it. Sometimes I kind of fall back, but I kind of became a pescatarian a few years back. And then I kind of got away from that because I was sick of seafood all the time. And so I did start reincorporating chicken in my diet. But anybody who knows me, they know I am still a very much picky eater. So there's a lot of things that I don't eat. I don't do macaroni and cheese. Don't like macaroni and cheese. I'm not a cheese eater like that. I don't eat baked ziti because it got cheese in it, or either I'll sit there and I'll pick the cheese out before I eat it. So I just don't even bother. I don't do lasagna. I don't do, what is that? A chopped barbecue. Never cared for chopped barbecue. I don't do ham. I don't do a lot of those things. And like I said, and I'm working on the cereal thing, Jay, because Kia and we had that conversation last year about the cereals. I'm working on it. So, but I go to cereal because it's quick. And some days I'm just too tired and I'm like, I just need something quick just to get in my stomach, but I'm working on it.
You can
So
eat
I think
oatmeal. Eat a natural grain from the earth. Eat a oatmeal. I mean, and I
I
don't
do
expect
eat
you.
oatmeal, but it's not the right kind of oatmeal.
You know, my baby, the one who introduced himself to you guys earlier, he's actually my nephew.
Yes.
And when he was about 2 years old, he just stopped eating. All of a sudden one day he wouldn't eat. He refused to eat for me. And I started doing smoothies for him because he, for whatever reason, he thought if he could get the bottle or if he could get that smoothie, he was getting over on me. So I
Okay.
started blending, smoothies with milk and greens. He's just a mess, for him. Now, because of that, though, I think even that started training his palate. He will request oatmeal, and I make his oatmeal with just the rolled oats, not the flavored Quaker
Yes.
cinnamon
The
this,
instant.
none of that. No, I do it with almond milk because he's lactose
Yes.
intolerant. I'll do it with almond milk, and I'll put in like blended fruit that I've put in the little Ninja blender. I
Okay.
put it in the refrigerator, let it get cold. I mix it in, and that's what kind of sweetens the oatmeal a little bit and also cools it down.
Okay.
So
Mm.
that's an option to try too. It's really delicious. Like blend up an apple, a banana, maybe some strawberries and something. Let them get cold, and use
Right.
that as the mix that will sweeten the oatmeal a little
Not
bit.
in the oatmeal. Oh,
But Nadella, you doing
I
the same,
don't like, so let me tell you, I
you
don't like
doing the same thing when you doing
food
the
touching.
processed.
So I would never use that because that's like my food, two different foods touching. So I would never do that.
You mean the blending
Next.
the cold fruit? You know what?
Now
No,
I make my
Della
own
just want to eat peanut
smoothies.
butter and jelly sandwich. I'm leaving them. No, Della just want
Look,
them B&J. That's all she want.
look, and
But I
we
do
gonna have
make
to add
my
some
own
strawberries
smoothie.
on
So
that peanut
last
butter and
year
jelly.
I stumbled upon making my own berry smoothie. And I was like, oh my God. So I haven't done it in a while because the fruit just really haven't been what I needed it to be here. So I kind of gotten away from it. But I looked at my blender today and I said, I need to get back to making my smoothies. And I have to say, when I made those smoothies, in terms of Jay, you were saying about killing that sugar craving, that smoothie killed my, I drink the smoothie every day. It was actually a 16-ounce smoothie I drink every day. It killed that craving. And I noticed one day I was at work and I said to my colleague, I said, usually I'm kind of craving something sweet right now. Had no craving at all. And
Wow.
what I blended was I had blueberry, strawberry, blackberry, raspberry, cranberry, and it was one more berry. I would throw a banana in there and I would blend it, and it killed that craving for wanting like junk sugar. I
Mm.
had no craving for it, and I actually, I think I lost a couple of pounds.
That sounds
So
that's
I
a good.
think maybe, we'll even come back and do a show and we can all, I don't know, Jay, if you're into doing smoothies, maybe even do a show. We show, you know, what our favorite smoothie is and let people see. Because again, if people are really serious about eating healthy, I think, you know, having that accessibility, I know you can go to Pinterest or YouTube or whatever, but when you see somebody, you know, creating this stuff and consuming it, for me, as Derek said earlier, is that word of mouth. That's what do it for me. And even seeing you coming up with the different flavors, that pushed me, Erica, into expanding into even more flavors of tea. So now they actually have a ginger turmeric tea, and it's made by Celestial Seasonings. It is an acquired taste, but it's not the worst thing that I've ever tasted.
Mhm.
I really do like it. Um, I like it. I don't love it yet, but I like it. But it is a taste that
That's a
has to
start.
grow on you. But I do understand the health benefits of turmeric as well.
That's a
Um,
that's a start. Just making that initial step, every with anything new that we do,
yes,
there's a starting point. Everyone has a starting point. So whether it's like Derek starting a business, or like Jay all of those years ago, having an issue and having someone say, I want to teach you how to be the solution to your own problem, or even you with this platform, there's a starting point. And sometimes in those initial days or those initial phases, we don't always like the way things feel or taste, but at the end of it, we're better for it. Once
yes,
we go through it. So I
yes.
want to encourage you, Nodella, to just keep trying, baby steps.
Definitely, definitely. So as we wrap up, I want to give you, Erica, an opportunity to give last remarks, and then Jay, you can give last remarks after.
Sure. I want to thank you, Nodella and Derek, for inviting me tonight, for giving me this opportunity to share my story and my journey, and to introduce Erica's Organic Teas, EOT. If anyone would like information about what I do, how I do it, and how it may be of benefit to them, please feel free to reach me at uh, EOTs at yahoo.com. And within the next 6 weeks or so, my landing page and website should be up. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you for this opportunity. Jay, it was an absolute pleasure meeting you tonight. And I'm looking forward to staying in touch with you and ordering some of your products.
Thank you.
And it's
You're welcome.
EOTs like TEAS. So it's
Yes, it is.
EOTEAS
At
at
yahoo.com.
yahoo.com.
Mhm.
Okay, great.
Yep. Thank you.
My final remarks would be for everyone to come off of high fructose corn syrup by all means necessary. The second thing I want to encourage everyone to do is to detox, 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 detox. Whether it's your intestines, colon, liver, detox some organs in your body.
Mhm.
And then I want us to focus on that craving for sugar. Try to manage that right there. Try to find an actual product, and we have one at Herbal Arc, which is an actual weight loss, to minimize the sugar cravings. It's a weight loss pill. And I want to say, Erica, it was a pleasure meeting you, and I want to say thank you all for having me a second time. If anybody want to find out any information about me, you can go to herbalarc.com, herbalarc.com, and you could just send a simple email to j@herbalarc.com, and you'll be able to reach me directly.
Okay, Derek.
So I want to thank everybody for coming on this platform and actually, again, educating our constituents on healthier living, because this is actually what it is. Things that are actually going to help you live longer, help you to detox, things that are natural. And so it's been great having you on, Erica, especially learning more about your teas.
Thank you so much.
Jay, as always, you about the herbs, and Nodella, cousin, this is how we do it all the time. But we look forward to having both of you guys back, because again, this is definitely a great subject to kind of hit on at least once or twice or three times a year to still encourage people, but also to not just only encourage people, but to get your businesses out there as well.
Yes, thank you.
Definitely.
Well, what I want to do, Erica, is I want you to make me up a sample product of some of the teas, maybe 4 of the best ones, and then you can send me over an invoice in whichever size that you do, so I could purchase some of your products from you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I
Nice.
appreciate that, Jay.
Yep.
And you know, ultimately, this is what this platform also is for. You know, and I just thank God for the vision of starting Intimate Talk Show. And he really has been blessing every guest that we've brought on it has truly been a success. They have added value to the show. They've added value to our audience. And I know this is why our audience continues to tune in, because of the things that the conversations we talk about, even some of the toughest conversations, but these are conversations that need to be talked about. And, you know, each time we say, okay, what is our subject going to be, even for the month, and Holy Spirit, you know, always come in. He's right on target. He's always on time with the topics. And people do let us know, listen, I saw your video, or I saw the live, and it was just what I needed to hear. So again, thank you so very much for, you know, making time and for accepting our invitation. And Erica, I will definitely be reaching back out to you again to see if you're available for the 28th, which is actually in 2 weeks. And so we can, you know, talk about caregivers, because they definitely need to be acknowledged. And I think to provide them also with a platform to share their individual experiences, as well as to gain knowledge from each other. So to all of our viewers, our listeners, our audience, thank you so very much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your continued support. We appreciate you. We probably won't do a prize giveaway this month. I'm not sure. We're still working on that, but we'll probably do one in the month of February. So we're just working on bringing content to you that truly matters. And again, thank you so very much. We appreciate everybody, cuz you know how we do. I love you very much. And Netta, I know you over there in the cut somewhere. So I love you, cuz. Thank you so very much for your support. So until next time.
I want to get your email address, Erica. I'm sorry, I should have wrote it down. Give it to me one more time.
I commented. Jay, I put your website in the comments, and
Okay.
Erica, I also put your email in the comments as well. But what I can do is, Erica, if you're okay, I can email Jay your information, and then y'all can just exchange. Okay, so Jay, after the broadcast,
Nadella, don't forget, please share.
Yeah.
Share the broadcast. This is word of mouth of how we get it out. This is how we share it and get it amongst our communities, so that we're educating our people.
Absolutely. So until next time, everyone, have a blessed evening and stay safe. See you next time.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.